What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Apartment Shenanigans. Today I'm with Ben,
Hey guys.
Relle. Okay, my bad. Relle and Jason.
What up, people?
What's going on?
That was a raspy. Are you okay? Today we are going to be focusing on Marvel Spider-Man for PS4 and talking about that game. Did everyone beat it?
Yes.
I got pretty far.
You haven't beat it yet? You probably looked
You
up
don't
all
have the
spoilers.
ending?
I have children.
You looked up all the spoilers, though, I'm sure.
Yeah. You're good.
You have?
Yeah.
Alright.
Of course he is.
Yeah, Jason doesn't care about spoilers at all.
Give no fucks. I guess this is now explicit.
No, it doesn't matter.
I mean, aren't they all though?
Always are.
They're all
yeah.
explicit.
Actually, not really.
So basically, we're gonna end up going into spoilers regardless.
Oh, yeah.
So
Definitely.
here's your warning
You
now.
had your chance.
Yeah.
It's been a whole 3 weeks since the game came out.
It has. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
And I'm already kind of pissed about the DLC release here.
Why are you mad about that?
Because it's happening.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. So it's gonna be kind of more like an interview format today. So I'm gonna be asking the questions because I watched Avery play a little bit, and then he played a whole lot without me, and I fell asleep. So I'm just gonna ask some general questions, get some thoughts on it, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, and whatever you miss and I have in mind, we'll just talk about.
Yep. So let's talk about. I guess let's see what your initial thoughts were going in, like before you got the game. So like once you heard about the release and you saw some trailers or whatever, what was the hype like for you before you got the game?
My initial thoughts, I was a little pissed. And
Why is that?
the main reason why. Well, the game was developed by Insomniac, which is the sole proprietor to PlayStation.
Right.
In the past, all the Spider-Man games have been multi-platform, so to have a Spider-Man game that come out, and I understand the reason why, I understand licensing and things along that nature, but I was a little taken back.
Annoyed that it was locked down to just PlayStation.
Just one.
Did that lead to you not having high hopes for the game because of Sony's other issues with things when they're the only people for it, like movies or whatever?
Sadly, no.
No? Okay.
Sony's done a very good job of being I'm guessing a sole proprietor of certain games.
Mm-hmm.
Their track record has actually increased over the past few years.
Yeah.
Games like Being Human.
Yeah, so the games that they handle in-house, which Avery and I were talking a little bit at dinner about, like Horizon Zero Dawn, you said.
Yeah, so...
they tend to do well with that, but like not movies that they do by themselves, which I don't know which movies are or aren't, just because I'm not super into that.
So, like, yeah, what we were talking about was all, like, the Sony exclusive games, which is, like, what the reason I got a PlayStation. Like, there's God of War, there's Uncharted, there's Horizon Zero Dawn, like Ben said, now Spider-Man. There's so many Sony exclusives that are amazing and critically acclaimed, and it seems like when Sony has just funds it, but like it was Insomniac Spider-Man, but it was a Sony exclusive. But then let's say like the Spider-Man movies that have been canceled and eventually flop. Spider-Man 3 is critically panned. Same with they made Spider-Man 2 and Fantastic Four. All of those,
they really like you and I talked a good bit about.
Like all of those, when they like fund the not fund the movies, but like they create the movies, they have the rights to the character. They seem to do terrible at. Like they don't know the characters, but when they hire someone and just fund them for them to make it, they do great.
I think that's trying to incorporate or put their hands into new things.
Right.
A lot of the Sony's higher ups, and I could be entirely wrong. I'm not on the inside with this, but Sony's higher ups have no idea about games and what goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll allow those guys to just have their creative liberties, and they're going to stay true to the comics and what the fans want, because they know the fact that to get the longevity, to get that downloadable content.
Because they're fans.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're already like super
Now,
into it.
when it comes to movies, they say, "Oh, well, we kind of like the direction this is going. However, we think it will be more of a twist if you do this."
Right, and probably trying to also fight with Marvel's MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And with Amazing Spider-Man, they try to make that whole universe that didn't do well. So, yeah.
Like Fantastic Four, like everyone says the first 2 acts were amazing, and then just fell off. The Spider-Man movies, which were good movies, and they were actually going to dive into a 3rd section, just fell off, and then Marvel bought, well,
They like a weird deal.
obtained the rights to incorporate Spider-Man to basically make their their Marvel Cinematic Universe more complete.
Which also with the Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi trilogy, I was telling Ben as well, Sam Raimi didn't want to have Venom in the movie. He wanted to keep it to, I think, 2 villains, and then Sony was like, no, the fans want Venom, you had to put him in. And Sam Raimi, I was watching an interview, he blames himself for not sticking his foot down to do what he believed was right and listening to Sony. And he blames himself and Sony for what Spider-Man 3 ended up becoming and all the memes and what got it canceled, because they did have a Spider-Man 4 planned.
Well, that was shortly after that movie launch.
Yeah. But, yeah.
So, what about you, Relle? What were your what was the hype like once you saw the trailer? Because I know you get really excited about certain things. So, when did you hear about it, and then what were your initial thoughts?
Avery in the Discord.
You really knew nothing about it?
No. You didn't hear like the announcement or a trailer on YouTube or anything?
Really?
I've been trying to skip that shit.
E3?
So
Nothing?
you just trying to be
I never
surprised?
watch E3. I never watch
Or
E3.
you just don't watch any launch events?
And for E3, I gotta be there. I don't want to watch people have fun. I want to have fun.
Well, I mean, E3's when they announced it, E3 2016.
But those are also catch-22. Now I know what's coming out, but now I know what's coming out, and I have to wait.
That's true. I can see that. So you'd rather find out
a little bit before.
closer to the release, and then
A little
have
bit
that
before,
hype.
but hopefully after.
Would you be afraid that the hype kind of for you dies off before the game comes out if you found out too early? Or you just don't?
If I found out
just
too early,
like,
I would have forgot.
Okay, that's.
But
fair.
then again, I would have
see
saw the
that happening
Discord, so I
for you.
probably would have been okay. But I would have forgot.
See, kind of going back to what Jason said real fast, Insomniac, like Spider-Man, is a PlayStation exclusive, but their last big name was Sunset Overdrive, which is an Xbox exclusive. And I'm not sure how
They're just gonna
all
make
that
it games.
works. Yeah.
It sounds like they can keep the control more inside.
But then even like Ratchet and Clank, that whole series is also just PlayStation. So.
So it seems like I said, they're more internally driven for things rather than, I guess you could kind of say, pandering or whatever, maybe, or like watering down what their goal is. But so I know, Avery, you saw, I'm sure, super early, like pre-release stuff or whatever from E3. When did you hear about it, and what was your initial thoughts?
I actually heard about Square Enix making a Marvel Avengers game first, but since E3 2016, there's nothing about that. But right after I heard about that, I heard about Spider-Man, and I think the first trailer, I don't even remember what was in it, but I just remember seeing the new suit, the white spider suit. And it was like a really short trailer, I'm pretty sure, but I was just excited because the last Spider-Man game was the movie tie-in for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which wasn't that good. And I was just excited, but honestly, I didn't get into the hype until E3 of this year when they showed the scene at the raft with the Sinister Six fighting Spider-Man.
Is that the helicopter scene where he flies through the helicopter or the crane?
That was also maybe in that same E3.
Okay,
I
you showed me
probably
part
showed
of
you.
it, but I don't remember the scene that you're talking about.
It was like Scorpion, it was all the villains attacking Spider-Man at once. He ended up falling down, and then like the whole twist was Spider-Man looking up. He was like, "You?" And it was like a mystery who this last villain was, which it ended up being Doc Ock, which everyone that we already mentioned, we're going to be talking about spoilers.
You had your chance.
Okay, so we got your initial thoughts. When you sat down to first play it and you hit start, what was the first thing you noticed in the game
Oh shit!
What you saw? Well, yeah.
Look
that
at
was
this.
Okay. So, what was like the first when you hit play and it played the opening cutscene or whatever? I forget how the game opened up.
Me too, but
what was the thing that stuck out?
It was not an origin story.
yes, that was what I was thinking. Like, yo, I'm not trying to go through this big and big shit. Can I already be realized?
That was with Justin.
So that was both of you guys' first thing was like.
Thank you for not making
I'm
me
glad
watch
it's
Uncle
not an
Ben.
origin
I'm glad Uncle
story
Ben's
over and
already
over
there.
again.
Definitely.
Okay. I thought that was a really interesting, not twist, but like, way for them to do it because Spider-Man,
But you
everybody
know
knows
what?
how Spider-Man became it, just like Batman. Like, everybody knows that it's been done over and over again.
But my thing about it, it's crazy how they skipped the one crucial part of his origin story,
What, Ben?
and then it, but yeah.
Well,
But
yeah,
then, they threw me for the loop at the end. Like,
oh yeah. We'll get to that.
that's why I'm not saying.
Yes.
But yes, it threw me for the
yeah.
loop at the end. Like,
I said, okay.
He's been Spider-Man for 8 years.
Yes.
Because the game is in 2018. He got bit
Oh,
in
I didn't know it was set in 2018. Okay.
Like on Uncle
I
Ben's
did not pay
grave.
attention to that either until
In Uncle Ben's grave, you can actually see like there's some newspaper articles. It says 2010 when he like got bit and like he died and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew he was already Spider-Man 8 years going into the game.
Right.
But probably my first experience, like this in God of War, when I first turned on the game, it was amazing because I was with Justin, hit midnight, and I could only play for like hours, so because I had to do like a 5-hour drive the next morning. So I turned it off. First, I actually experienced a lot of glitches.
Yeah, you had a
and
nightmare getting it even.
Terry, you guys
I,
no.
I couldn't turn on the PlayStation. I couldn't install the
But you
game.
have a disc or download.
It was a download. So like I got to the start screen, hit start. It wouldn't start the opening cutscene. I had to delete the game, reinstall it, and after that, I even had some glitches in the first few cutscenes. So like it was a nightmare until they.
This was all like not here at home. This was like out somewhere else. So
it was at my parents' house.
Not that great of internet. So here it would have been. How big
like
was
15,
the game?
It was like a 50 gig game, and
Okay.
it took like 40 minutes. My
Yeah,
parents,
so that would have been like
terrible.
15 or 20 minutes, if that, here. But we also pay for good internet.
But no, my first experience, like when they actually finally started for me, even Justin could contest for this. Like, I had the biggest smile on my face. Like,
Yeah, like a little grin, like
I am smiling right
you
now.
couldn't close your look. You just couldn't close it.
Like the opening scene was beautiful. Like, just pan through his room. You saw all the Easter eggs, and like you saw the history of his Spider-Man-ing, and then the second you just saw his face, and I just started smiling. And then he got the suit on. And when he jumped out the window, the quick cinematic of him just zipping around, and it seamlessly went into the swing, which the swing is amazing. Like, everyone compares it to Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 on the PS2. But, like, I played those games, like, I did grow up with that game too, but it was just done so well. I was so excited. Like, Yuri Lowenthal, the voice actor for Spider-Man, is also the voice actor for Sasuke from Naruto, if you guys didn't know, and, like, Simone from... Simone from Gurren Lagann. You know him from.
I wouldn't know the
things.
voice, yeah, but I wouldn't ever know the name.
His Peter Parker voice sounds nothing like them,
Yeah.
and I was a little worried that
You're gonna hear
Sasuke,
Yeah.
Sasuke's brooding, annoying voice, and like, no, he sounds like I would have pictured Peter Parker to sound like. Nothing like Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, or Andrew Garfield. He's just Peter Parker to me.
It does, yeah. The voice sounds good. I didn't like the character model.
Yeah,
it
you
just
mentioned
like he had like kind of Tom Holland's cheekbones and eyes, maybe
And
a
hair
little bit
a
of
little
the
bit.
forehead, yeah, a little bit like so from cheekbones up,
He looks
but
like
it looked different enough that it looked like a cheap
Uncanny-
version of him.
Uncanny Valley, maybe.
when what I saw when I compared that Peter Parker, because again I'm basing it off of the Tom Holland version.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a aged version of Tom Holland. So basically, he would be.
Because he's 23 in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just too similar, and that's what I didn't like about it.
I would say it was like a mixture. I did think it was older Tom Holland, but I would say it was more of a mixture of Tom Holland with Andrew Garfield in him a little bit.
It was, I would say 20% Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, not much.
70% Tom Holland, and then 10% just aged.
Okay.
Just kind of throwing that in there.
So
I
what
will.
about the other percents?
I thought I actually included. I said 20.
You said 70 and 10.
70, 10.
He said 20, 70, 10.
Okay.
You know, math. It's difficult.
It's fine. I'm not good at math since I can't count.
It took me 30 seconds to add 9 or 12 earlier today.
Of course I did, Relle. Of course.
But no, the beginning game, even like because Justin, like we've played games together before, and I don't think he knew how excited I was for this game. I don't think I even knew, but like I was just
I was
grinning, smiling. I was like kind of hopping in my seat too. Like Ben seen me do that a few times.
I will say the fact that your communication in the Discord.
When you saw the first begin.
Well, that was true. That was actually pretty nice.
And I didn't even see it. I had like 5 seats when I went to go look.
But
I was like, oh.
Avery, the way that you articulate how excited you are about the game gets a lot of people excited about playing the game. So
Even through the Discord?
Through the Discord.
How? I just had links and talked.
It's no, it was good.
It must have been. I guess it made an impact for Jason at least, and I'm sure Relle did because Relle.
Yeah, did you buy it because I mentioned it?
Yeah.
Went to the motherfucking store and bought the shit.
Damn.
I was bored. I had no games to play. So I'm like,
One, because your recommendations are just legendary. Period.
Yeah.
but it's not.
But
Oh, I didn't know that they were legendary.
oh yeah, they are. There's legends.
But I had actually been wanting to play a Spider-Man game.
You did tell me that.
And boom, it just really happened. I was like, that's what's up. And then while I'm playing it, I'm just going back to like, my room when I was a teenager and shit. And I was playing it, and I was like, yo, this shit got way better. Like, I mean, it was good then, at least for what it was, but like now, it's like crazy. Like, even the other day, I went, I web zipped like through underneath the motherfucking water tower.
Right.
And I thought he was gonna stop in front of it. No, he just did the twist, the screwdriver twist.
Parkour between it.
Peter Parkour.
There's a couple of scenes like
And
that.
then I got
Usually
mad.
cutscenes.
I'm like, yo, you already here yet?
What was it? The combat. So many people, even myself, compared it to Arkham Knight series.
Oh yeah, just watching me play, it physically felt like it.
But it's so different because
It's different, but it's still. It seems like it's the same, maybe mechanic or engine, but it seemed more refined.
well, the thing, yes, more refined for sure. But the thing is, with the Arkham series, one, Batman stole Spider-Man Spidey sense. Batman doesn't have that. But in the Arkham games, you see the reticle to counter, and you hit triangle to counter Y on Xbox, and he automatically does a counter. With Spider-Man, it's just a dodge. You have to follow up on that. So the only other thing that he gets counters when you unlock the ability is that he'll web them if you get a perfect counter or dodge. But it's so different because Spider-Man's combat is best when you stay in the air. Like if you stay in the air, you can get so many different. So. Exactly, and like all you see all is Batman. You hit the counter, but he does a cool little martial arts thing, knocks the guy on the ground, breaks their arm, whatever, and that's it. You might be able to use your grappling hook and get to them like Spider-Man can with his web, but with Spider-Man, all his acrobatics makes the combat so different, and even the amount of gadgets Spider-Man has compared to Batman in the game. Spider-Man has way more gadgets to use in combat, and they're pretty versatile.
Yeah, you can. By the time you get to the end of the game, you can go through your gadget wheel in a random encounter and activate all of them. Everything. So you can activate the sound room. You can activate the trip mines. You can activate the Spidey Sentinels.
My favorite was the
I didn't get those.
My favorite was the impact web because if like normal goons, if you got them just to hit a wall, they're out.
Stuck, yeah. But I started like, cause I think I told you, I found it started getting repetitive. Like combat started getting repetitive.
You told me that.
And even with the gadgets, it still felt like it was kind of repetitive.
Did it? I can see that, but
I didn't. There's two of the gadgets I didn't get: the Spider Sentinels and the Matrix one.
The one that like just blows them away.
Or the one that just the suspension Matrix.
That one's fun to use against disable agents because they're hard to fight. If you got them in the air, you could just easily take them out. I use it all the time.
I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like maybe you just didn't fully use all of them enough, or didn't choose to vary it enough, so you ended up feeling that way.
But maybe I should play in a different mindset because I don't know, my mindset is they'll get this shit done.
Well,
So maybe go back and
I feel like
play
a lot of the gadgets, I mean, they seem like more for
any
slowing them down.
fighting game like that. So even think of Batman. Think of any of these games that we've actually played over the course of the years. There will be a point in time where you get either the quarter of the way through the game or halfway through the game. All those encounters will seem repetitive. Like you only can unlock a few more different abilities.
Right. Well, even from a game design standpoint, like it's really hard to have so much. I notice it with the dialogue involved.
Mm-hmm.
I just get tired of the same few lines that the enemies say, or your character says as you're fighting.
I don't even recall hearing enemies talk.
The thing is,
well, I'm just saying, like in games
I think Spider-Man.
that's what I noticed.
I know one thing that like the God of War game had that people complained about was enemy variety. There wasn't many. There were like 4 to 5 different ones. Spider-Man, there's like 11. There was like the normal guys. There's the shield guys. People with melee weapons. People with melee weapons that had an element to them. The sable guys with jetpacks. The bosses. The big guys. There's a decent amount. The rocket launcher guys.
I can understand separating the rocket launcher from the gun, but I don't see why I need to have a skill just to remove an assault rifle.
This is a video game. It's RPG.
That doesn't make no fucking sense. Like,
That's how that works.
That was a waste of some skill.
But
just because I want to complete the whole damn skill tree, I'll do it. But
for me, with combat, the only time it got repetitive or boring was when one time I got annoyed with it was when I was doing side missions, because the way I play open world games, I do a lot of side missions, then I do the story slowly.
You really did get distracted when you played.
Because the swinging is so fun, I would just be like,
I'm not arguing. I definitely.
And then time comes up.
I like to do the
like use it to a point and then jump off.
Yeah, but then I got to skill with the boost. So I was just like,
but like, I got so distracted to the point where I'm like, I need to stop fighting these guys because I want to see the story.
But you can do that.
And like, I wanted to. I didn't want to see any spoilers online, so I was like, no, I'm going to beat the story and do all the side stuff after. So then the fights got boring and repetitive after I beat the game, and I was just trying to 100% it. But even at that point, I was like, wait, I didn't use this combo, or I didn't use this like web kick, I didn't use this. So like I kept, and if you try to do the bonus objectives in fights, it forces you to do
I'm trying to do it because I want the all the tokens so you can actually
unlock all of your abilities.
But I also realized that just because you do, and this is why I thought I even had 3 objectives. If you do 2, you get 2 tokens. Not always the case.
Right.
That pissed me off.
Any
yeah. So, what was your favorite part of the game? Whether it's a certain thing you like to do in the open world part, or a mission, or a character development, or relationship, or something. What was like when you look back? Like, what did you like the most?
As a spectator, my answer is twofold. So, as a spectator watching someone else play, the selfies that individuals took.
Yeah, those were cool.
Yeah.
So I have a few friends that are on Facebook, and their selfie game was on point with their Spider-Man because literally you could take a selfie anywhere.
In the middle of a fight, too.
In the middle of a fight.
Just take a selfie with like Rhino.
While web swing, like, and the fact that is something that Peter Parker would have done.
Oh yeah.
So from a spectator, from a Twitcher, from someone who's actually just watching the game from the outside and not necessarily playing, I enjoy that aspect.
I thought it was a good part for them to add in.
For me as a player, it's just web swinging. Like web swinging itself, going through and how detailed they made New York. For the fact you can actually be just like creamed by a subway car.
That happened to me. Yeah.
That
was hilarious.
So about the web swing, one thing I noticed with Avery playing was the detail they put into the webs. They didn't just look like silly string or like rope. They looked like when you swung by and you stuck a web to something and you swung and then you came back and you looked up, it looked like a spider web or cobweb hanging there. Like the persistence of that, or persistence. Right, and the individual like strands and the like kind of cobwebbiness if it was in like a corner and stuff like that just looked, because in other games it just looks cheesy. Like, it looks like string or whatever.
Because of this, it looks like interwoven rope slash...
It looks like a spider made it.
It looks like the shit he made it to be.
Yeah.
Right. With his little...
And maybe that's just a credit to the developers and also, like, the improvements we've made in the generations of consoles.
Yes.
And, like, how far technology has come. That's one thing that really stuck out to me that I noticed just watching. I was like, wow, that looks really good. And that's a small thing, but to me, it was like that kind of helped make it feel like Spider-Man.
How about you, Ron?
So.
Okay.
When the Sinister Six popped up, like, that was my part. Because I thought the game was over once I beat Martin Lee. And I really thought, like, I don't know why I felt like, I guess because I got sidetracked a lot too.
He looked like the main villain in all the trailers.
I mean, it felt like it was really, but...
When that happened, did you feel like you were satisfied with the game because you got sidetracked and you played so much, and then
only because now I'm saying it out loud, I realize because I got sidetracked. I was playing the game a lot more, so I felt like I absorbed a lot more.
So you feel like you got
so
a lot more
feel
out
sad.
of the game by that point.
So
and
I was satisfied.
Realized,
I was satisfied. With
exactly. Okay.
I mean, it felt too easy.
And then you
but
found
I was
out you
satisfied.
had. I don't even
but
remember
then it was like,
ha!
I was like, I knew this shit was too easy. I'm like, I knew this shit was too fucking easy. And then it popped out. But then, like, the part that really broke my heart, though, was like when it was Doc Ock.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit with like the end fight.
It wasn't so much that; it was the ending.
I didn't
it was
know.
the actual ending.
Like the Sinister Six. Like,
that made
when I
me
heard
sad.
the name, it was like, oh yeah. I had totally forgot how that shit went down. And then he popped up because I thought it was gonna be like. Cause again, I thought Martin Lee was the bad guy. So I'm like, all right, well, we're just gonna see the kinder, gentler side of Doc Ock.
No.
Nope.
So, what was your like favorite memory, I guess, or whatever of the game?
As you guys were talking, I made like just point real fast. I love the story, which I feel like we'll get.
No, we're not getting a list from you.
No,
I'm
going to tell you my favorite parts.
We're not even getting favorite parts, plural. Just favorite part when you go.
I don't have the story, but
you just liked the story.
The story was amazing. It was a.
You can elaborate on that a little bit.
It was a comic book story. It was a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man story. It was done really well. You saw his struggles and how much he just wanted to be this hero, but how real he was. The thing about Peter Parker, everyone can relate to him. That's the thing. That's why he has standed the test of time. And the fact that there's a mission where when he gets evicted, you're swinging around the city trying to find his stuff. And then, it was really real. In the amount of work they put into the story with him and Mary Jane. She's not an actress. She's not a singer. She's a reporter, which I know some people were complaining that it's like Lois Lane. But I thought it fit into the story a lot better.
I thought it made sense with her being that.
Yeah, I thought it made sense in the modern...
Like the Tobey Maguire movies.
That's what most people do relate to Mary Jane with.
Yeah,
but like
it fit better. How else would that story made sense?
Yeah, like in the comics, she's never that either. But like the way the story was built, it seemed like that was the best route for her to get close to the action and not it be like, why is she here, or not be a damsel in distress.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was just relatable, and the way
You related to Spider-Man, or like what aspect?
Just his personality, just in general.
Okay. Yeah.
And the way they handled Miles Morales in as well.
Which you were super excited about.
The way they introduced him into this universe, because they're not originally from the same universe, and the way I was worried it was going to be like, oh, they don't have Peter's origin story, but they're going to have his, but it was so seamlessly put into the game, and the perfect tease at the end with them just jumping on the ceiling.
Oh, that was cool.
I almost skipped it.
That was a neat way to end it.
I almost skipped
for
it,
sure.
but I'm glad I did.
And then
but I feel like that felt... So that ending part that you were talking about, I feel like that's what Spider-Man or Peter Parker would have done, but it felt really genuine, like they were just two bros and like...
Yeah.
You got secret. Oh, I got secret too. Oh shit, you're
saying
my secret.
Oh,
okay.
cool. I can do that too.
Yeah, like
and
the
then
way
they
he
had
said
that
it,
super bonding moment.
The way
right?
he said he was like, "This is weird." He jumps on the ceiling, and then Peter just jumps on the ceiling. He was like, "Not that weird." And like again, like the voice acting and everything.
Yeah.
And then
I really like that.
There's actually a comic book prequel story that I actually read today. That just gives you a little more detail about how MJ and Peter break up at the beginning of the game. You see Harry go to Europe. You see how Peter or Spider-Man met Yuri, so it just adds context to the game, but doesn't take away from the game. And the whole tease at the end with Harry maybe being Venom or Green Goblin or both, or I don't know. That was great. Like everything about the story, I loved.
That was a little fucked up. I'm just saying, that was a little fucked up. Right, motherfucker, you in the fucking house.
So we'll go least favorite this time.
Stealth.
No, I'm not done.
Oh,
Can I
sorry.
finish? Thank you. Least favorite boss or mini boss fight.
Martin Lee on the subway. It was super basic. You didn't see it. It was like you're just on the subway, and he shoots.
Is this when you got kicked off the subway and you had to ride the outside of the train?
Yeah, and they had the Spider-Man 2 reference with him trying to stop it, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, like he's just there, and he shoots a wave at you on the ground. You just hit the counter button and hit up. You jump multiple times. Then you do a side wave. You jump to the left, then the right, then the left, then the right, then up again, and that's the whole boss fight after you hit him a few times.
Did it take you more than one try?
No, it was easy. Did you die?
Of course he died or had trouble with it. It's him.
It was the simplest. It was the most lazy boss fight, but it wasn't the final boss fight, so I wasn't that
Not
upset.
predict the motherfucking blaster.
Okay.
So, what was your least favorite, like, boss or mini boss fight?
I am a poor example of that because of children.
So you haven't. I know you haven't completed it. So,
Yeah.
like, so far, what's been your least? You might not have a concrete, but like, what did you enjoy?
Most annoying boss fight, and this one's early on, the shocker.
That was annoying because I was still getting used to the game and like the dodge mechanic in the air. So yeah, I got hit. I didn't die, but it was annoying to me.
Was it annoying because you weren't used to the controls and it felt clunky? Or was it annoying because you thought like it wasn't well done?
A lot of things in the way.
Let's take a Disney reference, little column A and some of column B.
I would say it felt
So
clunky
it's
because
just
I
a
wasn't used to the
combination.
game.
Should they have moved that fight later on in the game so you're more used to the controls and it would have been better? Or do you think the design and the choreography or whatever of it just
So the
felt
follow question
unnatural and just could have been? Would the game have been better without it?
If that fight was moved later on into the game, the question would have been because what you need, especially that early. So the fact that you're not blowing through the game is you need to actually have a level like that while you're still going through everything.
Right,
But
I
that was
understand it's
the
like
fist
a
level.
time gating kind of thing a little bit, or to pace the player through it. But maybe not like switch it with another fight, but just give you more intro without like a tutorial kind of thing.
Well, the tutorial for the game was the first hour,
Mission or so, yeah.
like hour and a half.
Right,
And Fist,
which I thought that was super seamless, by the way.
It was.
Because
So
I
well
didn't
done.
realize that you were still in that tutorial mode, because you were already doing Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it would be more like,
Go here.
maybe it's just because I'm thinking of like the original Spider-Man game or whatever.
This
like
is how you
old
web
school.
swing.
Right, yeah. Shoot this here and go here. And when you see enemies with this, like, save
that.
the people. Right.
Like,
But
you
maybe it's
asked
just
me.
good design of how game developers now, because like game developers now are people that grew up playing games, so they know what they didn't like, so now they're doing it better.
And like when you asked me, you're like, "Are you turning those tips on? Can you turn them off?" I was like, "I'm still in the tutorial, man." You're like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Like it was because like I was doing so many crimes, but it was
Yeah.
just introducing you to those crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just it's what Spider-Man would
Hopefully they
do.
had more
So.
of those, like more variety to
The crimes did get a little repetitive because you have to do like 15 in each district or something. So that
I would like
Right.
anything.
well, that's the 100%.
So you just didn't like the shocker fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
but again,
You don't know how you would have fixed it necessarily,
well,
because a lot of times you do have things that you would
But-
have done different. But
the downside is I'm basing it off of a half window. Like I've only.
How far are
so
you?
I was gonna say,
I
where-
would probably say I'm about halfway completed.
Well,
so
what's the last
what are
thing
you doing in
remember?
the game right now? What's the last significant event?
Doc just finished. Actually, Peter just finished the neural connection for Doc's arm.
After
So Doc hasn't gone crazy
the
yet.
experiment or before?
Does he have 2 arms?
Two
2 octopus arms?
Was it just this?
That doesn't make him an octopus, by the way.
Well, the fact that is
I mean,
it
Doc
the
Ock.
juggle ball scene?
Yeah, you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, but he hasn't gotten all 4 arms.
So
yet.
No, he hasn't got all
Okay.
4.
And now, see, I didn't see all of the playthrough, but I feel like that's maybe a little less than half.
I would say about
40%,
half.
maybe.
Because I would say
But-
half.
If I go by,
And that's just going by. I don't know how much you played without me being around.
if you go by game completion, I'm 61%.
That counts your side missions.
But that count, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So
I'm not meaning that.
And I literally killed all the side missions.
Of course.
Well, you
did
unlock
first.
more and more. It's like I would do that. I would finish all my side missions. Then I'll do a main story mission. Then I'll unlock more side missions.
Yeah, because every time
It kind of leads you to do that though from game design.
I was like, oh, you could keep going straight, or you can just deviate right here.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll deviate.
So
I want
games
that-
like that, for me, that's loose enough, but I wouldn't want to be much looser because, like, Jason and I had talked previously about Borderlands. I never even finished the first Borderlands because I ended up doing so many side missions, and I enjoyed it so much. And when I played with other people, that's just what we did, and I couldn't tell what was story or side mission. I thought everything. I'm like, this is a gigantic story. It's going to take forever, and I kind of lost interest.
It's like The Witcher 3 too.
Yeah, well, I guess I haven't played
still
The
gotta
Witcher
play
3,
that.
but that's what ends up happening with me. But Spider-Man, it seemed like it was loose enough that when you were bored doing story stuff or you didn't want to go, you could do some other stuff around the city, which is what Peter Parker would do.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, I don't feel like fighting the main boss. I mean, he would if he had to, but you know what I mean? Like, it gave you like, oh, some nights are slower than others. Like, oh, there's only one purse snatching or whatever. And he just kind of cruises through the city and gets his favorite sandwich from wherever and purchases and eats it on a light pole or whatever.
Well, actually, really related. Because all the side missions, like you'll finish a main story mission, and like the game will tell you, "Oh, explore the city and upgrade your weapons."
Right, because I said it's saying that was like when the Wii told you to take a break and it showed
Yeah.
the window, and it's like, oh, jump out the window, but it meant like go outside or something. And Netflix does the same thing, like, oh, are you still watching?
Right.
Or whatever.
But it was really
Like,
nice.
You
when
should
they did
probably
that,
stop now.
because it didn't. It didn't. Some games, I'm thinking Final Fantasy 15, when you get to a certain part of the story, you're just on a linear path. You can't even do side missions anymore, and it didn't warn you. One, before like the main fight against Doc Ock, it didn't warn you. You won't be able to go back until you beat the game now, which I
really
like.
did, and I did go back.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
maybe I want to get these.
with the with how seamless it was, also the voice actor for Spider-Man, he actually recorded every voice line throughout the game. When Mary Jane calls you, Yuri calls you, whoever calls you, he recorded every voice line twice for if you're swinging, so he sounds a little more winded, and if he's just staying still, where he sounds normal. So if you like,
Interesting.
if you pay
That's
attention to
dedication.
that, that's really cool. And when
was that him actually making it, or was that the director of the game making the direction for that one?
I don't know.
Either way, it's
But
still good follow through.
yeah.
And
Whoever you are.
what was really nice was when you would go into your menu when you're in the middle of a phone call and you exit the
This
menu.
was awesome.
Like I was talking to Aunt May, he was like, "Oh, Aunt May, I got evicted." Like, but then I like went to the menu. I did like a side mission where I had to watch a cutscene.
Yeah.
Then right when it was over, he was like, "Oh," he calls May back. He's like, "Sorry, May, what were we talking about?" Like
That was awesome.
he
That's
seamlessly
like that
continues the
persistent
conversation.
world
So if
thing.
Huh?
so,
I haven't had that happen yet.
you just haven't paid attention to it.
You probably
You probably just listen to it every time. You probably stop what you're doing. Because I was worried, because some games do that. They just cut it out and they don't continue it, so you miss dialogue.
And I try not to do it. All
So
the
like I
time.
purposely
Right,
did
I
it
think
because I
that's
was
true.
like,
Because
just doing
I
stuff.
do it all the time when Jonas is talking, when Jameson is talking.
Oh, him, it's just a podcast, so you'll hear the same thing over again eventually. But like specifically, like once you do a side mission, and then Mary Jane will be like, "Wow, that was crazy! I can't believe you just did that." And then you're in the middle of a conversation, and you're like, "Yeah, blah blah blah," and you just hang up, or just pause the game, or you do another side mission where it starts something. You'll be like, "Oh, sorry about that, I got busy. What were you talking about?" And then they'll just finish start where they ended.
Right,
Yeah.
where they were.
That's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good design. But Relle, what was your, I don't know, whatever boss fight least favorite?
Before I say it, because I might also be weak. For the side missions, was Tombstone like the only one? Like they had a continuing like side story?
There's Tombstone, there's Black Cat, which is gonna be the first DLC, and there's also Taskmaster.
No, I mean, but like legit side missions.
Those are all legit. Side missions are the ones that are blue marked.
Tombstone
wait, go through those again?
Because Tombstone's...
Tombstone's the only one that has like its own cutscenes.
Like, that was...
But Taskmaster, he has like side objectives, but he's still like a pretty big side boss. Catwoman, you just see all her things, and then eventually... Black Cat, you see all her things, and the first DLC, like if you finish all her side missions, you get a black suit. You get a black suit with a red emblem, and
dude, you can incorporate. It does.
I don't care. I like the tokens. Let me get them damn powers.
The very first DLC is called the Heist, and it's like all the side missions are leading up to that DLC, which I don't mind. I don't mind DLC, and they said each DLC package will be about 2 to 3 hours long story wise, but also it's going to add 3 more suits, I think, in each, and who knows what else.
Okay.
So yes,
well, I'm ready for that DLC right now.
Apparently, I did all the side missions then.
For Black Cat?
All the everything.
Oh, I may have missed something.
Yeah, I was like, Tombstone's done. Black Cat's done.
That's how you play, though. Yeah, when we talked about Borderlands, you did that. Or at least you said something about it. So.
Yeah, did those
pigeons.
I didn't figure out how to catch them motherfuckers until the mission.
It tells you when you're chasing them.
Well, the first time, no, it didn't. I swear to God, I didn't see it. And I would be chasing them or whatever, and I would be in the blue line, but the LNR wouldn't show up, so I didn't know. So I said, fuck it.
You have to get close enough. But
there was a mission where he took the bird took the flash drive or something.
Yeah.
And then I had to catch it, and then it popped up. I'm like, oh, well, shit. So then I went and caught 2 pigeons after that.
Did you find all the backpacks? Side note question.
Not all the backpacks.
The backpacks are one of my favorite parts of the game too.
That's clever.
I thought I did until I realized, but I also did not pay attention to the fact that the backpacks they're broken up by district or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I thought I did complete it because I did when I finally looked at the numbers, like 16 out of 16. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I went a little overboard in day 1 and day 2. So all the PlayStations, all the backpacks. By that time, I think I had the pigeons. So all those side quests were actually completed within the first 3 days.
Pigeons I did kind of late. The backpacks I just did as I saw them until I beat the story.
No, I went hunting.
I hunted for all the police stations for sure.
Yeah, I need to see.
But well, now we're talking about the backpacks. I love the lore that they add to each one. That's awesome. Like some things are like related to the most of them are related to the comics, but some are even like hints to like people who might only watch the movies.
Yeah.
And the way you have landmarks in the game and you can seamlessly just take a picture while you're swinging, that was awesome. And he also like talked like when you took a picture of Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctum or whatever.
And I wonder what the King of Wakanda is doing here.
Yeah, like I think when Doctor Strange was like, "Oh, I remember this building, but it always seemed kind of strange to me."
When he said the Avengers Tower, man, they're never here.
He said they're on the West Coast, which could hint to the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
So, but back on topic.
If that's my least favorite boss fight, probably Vulture.
That was one of my favorites. I think the favorite. Really?
It was cool. It was my least favorite.
Like,
Vulture.
Can you give us a little more than just like I didn't like?
Because I'm thinking about it. That's the one that I remember the least.
Did you die?
The one with Vulture and Shocker together.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Because that's my favorite. Because that was like you even said that was a cool one to watch.
Yeah,
I like how it started. So
I
also did like how they interjected him into it because I did think I was only going to have to fight one. I had to fight 2.
I mean, would you rather fight 2 or rather make the story longer and fight one at a time, which might be repetitive?
Well, they're different characters.
That's a good thing because he said it's repetitive.
They're different characters, but they had different mechanics to them.
I
did like the fact that it did force me to switch it up on the fly. Like I liked that
because the whole fight was in the air.
That
too.
made it challenging for me.
Yeah,
and that also made it challenging too because I'm not really
good at games. Sorry, that was mean and harsh.
I'm not good at aerial.
Hey, I'm not good at games. Period.
I mean, that fight was my most difficult because it was in the air.
But I did like it. I just had to keep running away though. I didn't want to die, but it was cool.
One of my friends at
So
work.
it was cool, or was your least favorites?
Because the Scorpion Rhino fight was way more fun.
That was my least favorite of like the Sinister Six ones.
Yeah.
Because I hated having to lure the Rhino into the things you had to hit him with. I found that annoying.
Well, I was already running from him anyway, so I
I was like, oh, you can tell me where to run? Okay. Okay.
Come
So,
here.
what were you saying when I cut you off?
About the fight. I don't know. The fight was cool. I liked it. I don't remember exactly what I was gonna say.
We'll do maybe 2 questions and then final thoughts. Favorite suit?
Favorite suit.
That's a hard one.
Or favorite suit, like with power.
One, do you have all the suits open yet or no?
I have majority.
Or at least enough that you can speak to it?
I think I'm missing 3.
Okay.
One of them is the nude suit. One of them is just the nude suit.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's do favorite suit, or at least suit that you have gotten so far for Jason, who might not have a favorite one yet. So I guess we'll start with
can't
favorite.
pick absolute favorite. I have to say like at least 3.
What's the one? So there's
Can
one.
we do top 3?
No, we can't have lists.
No,
No,
I'm doing
because
It's not a
I
list.
can't do just one.
It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
I know, but you have to make lists, and I'm the interviewer. What's the one that you wore with the white knuckle pieces and like the basketball shoes? Because you wore that a lot, at least the parts that I watched.
I wore.
Unless I'm like, try this suit.
I wore Insomniac's White Spider suit the most, but that's only because I wanted to experience the cutscenes how they were made.
Yes,
So
I remember you saying that.
I wore that the most, but I don't know if that's my favorite because I love the Scarlet Spider suit and I also love the vintage suit. Like those 3 are probably the ones I like the most, and like the stealth one was
Really?
cool. Like,
You had to work a list in.
Yeah, I'm going to. Because I can't pick just one.
All right, well,
Well, it doesn't have to be your top favorite, like you hate the others, but like your most that you enjoyed or whatever. Like the one that you. What was the one you kept coming back to putting on, even after trying your other ones in your top 3?
All of those. I would switch those pretty constantly once I beat the game.
Okay, fine. You're irrelevant. Go ahead, Rel. What was? Just pick one that you liked. I guess. One of your top 3. It doesn't have to be your favorite one because apparently it's too hard to pick things.
It is in this game.
They were a lot of the suits were amazing.
They were. I really liked seeing them, and I thought they all added their own unique things to the game, and it seemed very practical rather than like some where it's like, oh,
I have my favorite suit
makes
power.
you shoot webs a little bit faster or something kind of lame. They definitely felt like they changed the game in a fairly major way. What was your favorite?
The Black Cat suit. Then I was.
Fuck it.
You said I could do 3.
No, I said you couldn't, but whatever.
You said well, that's why you listen.
I didn't.
I said he didn't listen, so you might as well do your list.
I said moving, and I am
not the moderator.
What are you even seeing behind this big mustache?
Sure.
Just go, whatever.
But it's the Black Cat suit. The first black and yellow suit you could unlock, only because of the little collar. Really talk only because of the collar.
Just the aesthetic.
Yeah, just the aesthetics of the little collar.
That's fine. Hey man.
If you sorry,
But I think those are my home too.
You said 3. You're letting our people down.
Am I? You think so?
Just
people?
pick a third
Am I
one.
letting you down?
Just pick a third one.
Pick a third one.
Yeah, just because.
I can't.
You can't pick a third one. You're gonna.
Because I don't know which spider suit it is.
what I thought wasn't. What does it look like?
It's the it's probably the blue one, the black and blue one. Is it just black and blue? But I didn't put it
Spider-Man
on
2099, or the Secret War suit with it was like black in the house on some red in it.
It's not Secret War. Well, fine. The Death Guard suit, the one that was blue but then red, but it was a skull in the back.
Alright, Jason, can you pick 3?
Yeah, that one right there.
Apparently-
Spider-Man 2099.
Wait, which one?
That wasn't the one I was talking about originally.
The white
but
one?
yes, that one.
You like the white one?
I don't like the white one. I like the blue
Or
one.
the blue one? Okay, yeah, Spider-Man 2099.
So like he'll turn into a skeleton and fuck you up. Wouldn't it be Blue Beetle?
Because they have like the white 2099 one.
Okay.
And this one.
Yeah. It would have been Black Cat to start. The second one would have been the Spider-Man with the Rider jacket.
Spider-Punk.
No, God, no, not Spider-Punk.
Scarlet Fighter?
No, not Scarlet
Spider-Punk was pretty sweet. I liked it.
I actually didn't that much. It looked too like cosplay to me.
No, it looked very European.
Did you get the
I guess I just
Anybody
liked it
get the
because that's
comics
kind
you
of
know?
my
Yeah.
general feel, anyways.
Can you just tell just look on this?
It's one that you actually wore when I came over to visit. I think it might have been that one.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't know the name. I think it's the one Uncle Ben wears in the universe where he gets bit.
It kind of has like buttons.
You talking about the brown one that looks steampunky?
No, well, not
Spider-Man Noir.
Not Spider-Man Noir, but it's inspired by. It looks like Spider-Man Noir, but it's red in color. So that's number 2, and that's the one I haven't unlocked yet. And then 2099 white version.
I did not like the white version. I thought too much was going on with it.
He looked
I
totally.
didn't really like the 2099 either version. Like, it just felt too...
futuristic.
glossy?
Yeah, like too...
too futuristic. That's the point.
Wow, thank you. It felt too stormtroopery or too robotic. Like, it felt more like a Terminator.
That's
than
how the
it
last
Spider-Man.
2 MK suits looked like.
I hated
too,
all
like
the
they just-
MK ones.
And then the apologies or something.
But what I really liked, if you like took a selfie mode or zoomed in on each skin, they all had different fabric and like really detailed fabric too. Oh, that one. Okay,
Which one?
interesting. Well, this is the one Uncle Ben wears. That's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah, he likes this one.
Leather suit. Leather jacket.
Oh,
Spider-Man.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one here is the one that
The wrestling suit one?
No, this is what Uncle. This is the actually yeah. This is Uncle.
Looks like the luchador.
God, sorry. Ultimate Spider-Man wears when he does the wrestling stuff in his origin story.
Right. So, did you finish 3 suits or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Like, I want to mention real fast. I let Chris play the game for like 20 minutes or so.
And you like give me the controller back.
No, I wasn't in the room. But like when I got back into the room and like Chris was doing something and Steph was watching me play and I climbed up the Eiffel Tower and jumped off. And she's like, "Why do you do that?" Chris did the same thing. I'm like, "Is this what you do in a Spider-Man game? You
Yeah.
always climb the Eiffel Tower and jump off and dive down."
I only did it once. And I was just see if I was going to get an achievement from doing it.
You get achievement for perching on top of Ventress Tower.
I know. I'm kind of fucked up, so you don't get one from the Empire State Building.
But isn't Avengers Tower higher than the Empire State Building?
Yeah.
It's petty.
It's Tony.
It's an imaginary building.
It's Tony.
Imaginary?
Imaginary.
I know what he said.
But it's Tony Stark's building. He has
exactly. He's got a bit of an ego.
So I wonder if he'll show up in any of the DLC.
I doubt the DLC, but they did
Tony?
say
Or the
Or Iron Man.
Avengers?
they did say that they wanted creative director wants this to be the video game equivalent to the Iron Man movie to possibly start some kind of universe in video games.
So yeah, that's a good transition. What are your hopes or thoughts for either replayability or expanding it with DLC? We'll start with Jason.
The downside is once I actually complete this game,
Are you gonna pick it back up again?
I'll let my boys do that because I already know
You're gonna still want to play the DLC though. I feel maybe not. I mean,
When
you do
the-
kind of when you're done. But
when the DLC drops to $5. Yeah, I'll pick up the DLC.
It won't.
I know it won't, so that means I'll pick up the DLC, or I'll just come over and visit.
You should have just got the deluxe edition then.
Well, if a year later comes out, then it'll be free.
I mean, it's all the DLC is going to be for $25. Like you can buy it now for all 3 DLCs. It comes out next month, November, and then December.
Before Christmas or after Christmas?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but once you go through, and I have an issue with games with DLC, and I understand they're trying to just maximize and capitalize on the profit.
But I think for certain things it is a cash grab, but other things like it's stuff that they couldn't develop for the main storyline. So it's giving the developers the ability to provide more content, especially if it's something like Spider-Man where there is a lot of passion from the team, and they're like, "Oh, we have all these great ideas, we can't get it out." how do we do that? And now people are like, oh, we can just do DLC. I get more annoyed when there's DLC on launch day. And it's like, oh, new maps or whatever. Like, that's a bit annoying.
Well, go ahead.
With this, I don't care too much because if they added all the DLC immediately, yeah, the game would be longer, but people would still beat the game within 1 or 2 days. With this DLC, it kind of paces people, and also it would have got delayed if they added the DLC because they said they're adding a new game plus, and they're finishing the Black Cat DLC now. It's not done yet.
So it's like the retention of people playing, right? Like the number. I mean, multiplayer games are like that. How much retention of players on the servers do you have? I don't know, single player wise, how that works in a marketing or business side of that. But if you can keep people playing your game longer, and they get more enjoyment out of it, then that's good, right? Especially even if you sell the DLC for $5 or whatever it is, yeah, you're making extra money, but at the same time,
I guess
there's some benefit to it, especially if you're like, it seems like Insomniac. Like we watched some interviews, right, about them, and they're like, we're gonna make this a good Spider-Man game. Like they were truly fans and passionate about it, and I feel like that came through very well.
No, I get that, and I have no problems with that. I'm a bit of an older gamer.
Really, not that much though.
Not too terribly older, but I am an older gamer. I am an older gamer where basically you had video games out there that took you, like Moral and EverQuest, things of that nature that were 60 hours. Oh, I'm sorry, 150 hours just to get through the main game. Where you had multiple discs.
But then would you like that though? If this game was like that, like you have kids, you don't have that much time.
Like you said.
So, but now you're robbed that. You don't even know about that experience. You haven't had that experience because the fact
that hundreds of hours does not sound like fun.
Yeah, with Skyrim,
I think
I didn't like
20
Skyrim
to
because it was too open world and too
like
long.
around 25 to 30, like the more recent Doom one. That was a good campaign. By the time that finished, it was just starting to get a bit repetitive for me, and it ended, and I was like, I feel complete. Like I've gone back and I've played it some, even after the fact, which is rare for me, but I felt like I got my money's worth out of it, I think is the ultimate goal. Now, do you have to do hundreds of hours, or can you accomplish that in 30 hours? Is that, more or less of a benefit, or not benefit, but
I think that the caveat, or at least the breaking point for a lot of individuals is if the game is if you can beat the game in the first day that you pick it up, that's not a good game. That's not a lot of content.
But I had this conversation with Ben
necessarily
before.
Think so.
That's like going into the talk like, does a 60-hour game, is it worth $100? A 113-hour game, like you mentioned, is that going to be $200? That's just paying for how much time you're playing. One, people play differently. But also, people who beat it in one day, they just marathon it for hours. They still beat it in like 20 hours. They just beat it in one day because they can do that, and that's how their life is structured.
Unless there's some crazy freak speedrunner, which is different. Spider-Man probably doesn't have as much of a community for that, at least in this game yet.
Or not yet.
I'm guessing where my mind, or at least when I first noticed it, was it's a very different game, very different platform. It was Halo ODST.
I actually never played that one.
See, I didn't like it that much.
Me and one friend beat the game in 8 hours. That's
a short game, yeah.
Yeah, but that was kind of more focused towards multiplayer and stuff there too, or that's that early on where they started to focus more.
But the Halo games would take us hours upon hours just to at least get to a certain point because the fact that the content was there. We played the ODST, and the save points were even weird.
But ODST was also a spin-off filler game. It wasn't a main title.
I'll give you that, but it was the first game that kind of opened my eyes to this whole concept, because then they were like, oh well, let's fix this by adding more DLC content to actually fill in what we didn't have.
So you're just kind of more against DLC in general. You'd rather have a more complete game at the beginning on launch and possibly have to push it back than it is to add that content after the fact.
Correct.
So that is an older school view of the game. But that's just not practical with the way that the community culture, whatever, is now. It's just not.
For the amount of hours you put into Spider-Man already, and you saying like you're about halfway into what we've talked about, what we said we liked, do you think DLC with this game is going to annoy you?
I have a very weird concept if I would put DLC in this one. Give me the airport scene.
But then they'll have to introduce the impact.
I understand. Make my DLC, make my downloadable content truly apart from the game.
But do you think if they did that, it will take away from the game Spider-Man? It would be Avengers or just a Marvel
downloadable content.
Game?
It's an option.
But it's still part of the game, though.
It's optional.
You have to pay for that content.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just no $10.
Yeah. Like,
So the way that sounds is it's an expansion.
Yeah,
exactly.
But that's it.
It sounds like
said,
it sounds like you
a,
want them to make an MCU, which they might do.
But
that won't be until later. And also, how do you explain like games like WoW, World of Warcraft, where you pay monthly to play these games that are long?
Right, but there's also expansions.
So you still have to pay for the expansions,
right? But those are like a whole nother like 30-hour. Some of them are smaller, of course, but like that's a whole nother game practically.
It is, but then you still pay monthly to play the game itself,
right?
Yearly.
But so what I'm saying is, to Jason's point of it, thinking of it more in an expansion, which is, I mean, that's how like the original Doom and things were. Well, maybe not Doom specifically, but that era. They had expansions, but they added like a whole other 30 hours. But nowadays, that's a whole nother game.
Yeah.
And they're just not going to do that for DLC. DLC will add some extra missions, some other things that you can do to keep you playing, and they'll schedule the DLC to come out sooner and be smaller so that they continue to feed that wanting to play. Whereas now people can't commit another 30 hours after just spending 30 or 40 hours playing the main game to get a new DLC or expansion, whatever you want to call it.
And some people even say like,
because there are also other games coming out that they want to play.
And like developers, they'll have ideas for DLC, and sometimes that DLC idea will become so big that they're like, no, that's going to be a sequel. Like we can't do this.
Yeah,
all
they're
in
like,
DLC.
this is a good idea. We'll keep going with that, and it's well received.
Now, I will also say, I was also one of the ones who was a part of the subscription. I was Phantasy Star Universe. I was one of the ones who bought the game at launch. Paid $5 a month until the service went down.
Wait, what was this?
Phantasy Star Universe?
Didn't know about it.
Yeah. I played Phantasy Star episodes 1 and 2 while I was in college, and then when it came out on Xbox 360, I played that. My server number was so low that everyone thought I was like admin because it was in the low thousands. But I played that game religiously, and when you play a subscription game like that, almost everything else takes a back burner, because when you're paying for that, so yes, it's to keep their servers up, is actually to add constant content that's kind of filtering in. So the weapons that you have, like, it's literally, but in that particular element or that era of it, you're constantly getting something different.
I just don't think that that's practical now with the way that people play, because people are so busy with their day-to-day lives and stuff, and especially, at least for me, I like to get in, experience stuff, get out, and then that be it. It doesn't have to be all wrapped up in a neat bow, but I like to be easily get in and out so that I can play more frequently, versus something where you're saying with an expansion or whatever, like that's a whole nother commitment, which is just going to push me off from playing it.
I have one more question.
Same thing with reading books for me.
I have one more question before we do our final thoughts on Spider-Man, since we got so off track.
Sorry, viewers.
I'm not fine.
What's your take on like episodic games, like Telltale games, which rip Telltale? Because you pay for a season pass, and you're being hopefully promised to get all the episodes, or you pay for just one episode, and then the funds they get from that first episode or the season pass you buy funds the next episodes. What's your take on those?
It's kind of the same way where basically you have games that will come out free for everyone else, i.e. Fortnite. Same Paragon games that actually, which was what, Epic Games?
Fortnite is, yeah.
So same kind of concept there. Like, yes, you're we are working and we're developing this game. We're going to give it to you for free. This is pretty much the full concept of what we have here.
But then that's where you get like the freemium games where it's all aesthetics, or pay to win games where you spend money on aesthetics that don't matter. But then some games are like mobile games, you spend money
Pay to win,
and that's just unfair to people who don't want to spend that money.
Yeah.
No, because you can still accrue it and grind and
very
get it.
slowly though. But for
Yes,
people
but
who
it's
are
just
more
it's
fortunate,
disproportionate, but not necessarily unfair. Because you can pay. If there's a faster way to do it, it should be behind a paywall, just like the HOV lane on the highway or whatever. Like you pay
Easy
a higher
Pass.
amount, Easy Pass, maybe not HOV, but there's other lanes in the center that you pay, like truckers and stuff that constantly run that route. They'll pay a higher rate to just have that because there's less traffic. So it's gating off so that it's designed so that not everyone can have it. Specifically, so the people that can,
but why not make it
have
for
it easier?
Games like Clash of Clans or other games like that for the people who do pay, and that should put like a decent, like maybe have like a wall. If you pay like this much money, you're gonna be playing with just these people who also spend about this much money.
But then but then you get player bases that complain that it's segmented or segregated, right? Like,
but then you get player bases that are complaining that they're playing against people who have spent thousands of dollars to someone who spent zero, and they're just getting demolished. So you can't satisfy everyone.
Right, yeah. At that point, you're just
but
you're not gonna whatever it's called, but you're not gonna win. Period.
the other caveat to that is, say if you didn't spend money on anything, but you were there since day one.
Right.
So if you've been there since day one, and you have, like, think of mobile games. I actually played quite a few of them, and I've been playing a particular game since, I think, 2 months after it came out. My level was a lot higher than anyone else who comes in, and I believe within the course of 5 years of playing this game, I made it put in $20 to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 10 of that was an accident. So, and then when I'm going up against all these other, like, there are groups that I just can't defeat or do anything about, but there are.
So
everyone.
at that point, though, then it's just like matchmaking based on level.
Yeah.
And then how did you get to that level is irrelevant whether you grinded or ground or you paid money. It's just matchmaking based on level or skill, and that equals it out across the board then.
Refresh button.
Yeah. So, let's bring it back in
Spider-Man.
and wrap this up with a neat little bow. Final thoughts, and you try to stay in.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about just about the ending. We didn't even talk about the last Doc Ock fight or Aunt May's death.
Your final thoughts.
So, Doc Ock fight.
Sure, go ahead and start.
The fight itself was super simple. Like every boss fight was about the same. You dodged, you parried, and then you just webbed them and hit them a few times, and that was like the fight. Then a cutscene happened. Doc Ock's, when his mask breaks, like, have you seen the cutscenes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his mask breaks, and then he's like kind of worried that Doc Ock's gonna see his face, and he says Peter. He's like, you knew? And he's like, you knew? Like, him saying like that, you knew, like that had so much emotion, which is like just great on the voice actor Yuri Lowenthal, which I thought was great. Doc Ock was great, and then once they fell down, like the whole time they're fighting, like the fight was so simple. You're just, like, especially when you're on the side of the building, all you're doing is hitting a circle and hitting square, hitting circle, hitting square. It's simple, but the emotion in it, the music, the weather. Him saying like all this stuff, like I looked up to you, I trusted you. Why'd you do this? Like everything built up. Like yeah. And when he finally fell down, and he was like, Peter, like I didn't want to do this, blah blah blah. It was just the claws, the neural, whatever it was. And then just voice acting all around made that scene for me. And like he was like crying, talking, but it was just amazing. I thought that was
my
second best scene in
opinion
the game.
on that specific part. It felt too forced and too, not forced in a bad way, but like it felt too much like acting, and so I just didn't like it specifically for that reason. Because my skepticalness is just like, oh, he's just trying to manipulate him, so he doesn't really like fully kill him or beat him or whatever.
But then
which is why I didn't like it.
Because with me, the game started, one of the first cutscenes, you find out you're working for Doc Ock. So everyone knows Doc Ock is a bad guy.
It was done well, but for me
No,
personally,
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, what adds to the emotion was you knew he was going to turn to Doc Ock. You don't.
If you didn't know that, then it must be your first Spider-Man game, and
Story,
if that's the case,
but I really
nothing is wrong with that.
Compassion and everything in it. Like, I mean, eventually you feel like, oh yeah, this gonna go south, but.
Like,
damn,
you didn't know if, like, it was kind of, it slowly built up, very slowly built up.
Like, Peter Parker believed in that motherfucker.
Yes. Like, he was like, I loved your mind, and, like, you, for all we knew, maybe you fought and then he didn't get taken down to the sequel, or something like that, or the DLC.
Right.
But, like, you're the whole game you're waiting for him to turn to Doc Ock because we all know it, but then you just grow with him as Peter is growing.
You see him vulnerable because now you know he's sick.
Yeah, he's sick, and like you see like they hug, they really talk, and like he loves May and Feast and everything. Like, just I thought you saying is like it's more acting, which I want that in my video games.
Oh no, I'm not saying it was bad. I just felt skeptical of it because of the way I process information.
Okay.
Aunt May.
I cried.
Aunt May was way better.
I cried.
That was way more emotional for me, which makes sense.
And you
based
know
on
why?
How I am.
And but at the same time, it was predictable because, of course, he was always going to do what was best for the many instead of the few.
Again, with Doc Ock, you knew he was going to do the right thing, but the way they did it was so.
But the part with May where he's like about to put it in, like of course you know, but still like that, I felt like that's tension. That was one.
That's
point
when I started tearing
watching.
up. The second he was about to do it, and he stopped himself, but even before that, he was like. You got the cure, man. Like, you could hear him. He still has a mask on, and you can hear him about to cry. And then
I want to see my nephew.
The fact that she said, "I want to see my nephew's face," and not said, "I want to see your face," I was like, she knew.
That was more so.
She
separated more
personality
than Doc Ock saying it.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the Aunt May scene made me cry. Doc Ock, I just thought was good and emotional. Yeah. I cried. With Aunt May.
You did.
Like, and then the second, like the way. It just panned up, and then she turned, and you could hear her heartbeat. And then the screen went black, and you heard two more beats, and then
because I thought she was going. I thought the screen was going to go black, and then it would be like
flatline.
Boom.
Oh no, it was
she's up and walking. Then I heard that shit, like,
you went to bed maybe an hour before I beat the game. If you stayed,
really?
Yeah.
So I couldn't have lasted an hour.
So like I had my headphones on, just playing this game. I had the chair so close to the TV.
I know. I came out the next morning, and it was literally like your knees were on the TV stand.
And I was just like watching. I'm like, just like it was just a silent cry, like just tears. I'm like, oh no, oh May, oh my god. And then they had the 3 months later flash forward to him and Mary Jane finally tied the knot.
Are you tearing up again?
No, I'm just getting hot. But. God, yeah, that was emotional. So
final thoughts, Jason. I know you're not completely through it yet, but
you've definitely seen the cutscenes.
You know what happens. But go ahead.
So, it's a good game. Would recommend it. High 8, like 8.9 out of 10.
Ooh, that's a good way to end this.
Will be my rating. It's probably because of the fact that I am not a Spider-Man fanboy. It's a good game. It's actually one of the best Spider-Man games that's actually ever been put out.
Spider-Man's just like Robin, but got actual powers.
Yeah,
and it's better.
All right. On that note, I'm going to end the
Bye, Jason. But no, continue your final thoughts.
The story, and Avery alluded to this earlier. For the parts that I've actually had a chance to play all the way through, the story is actually what captivates you. It's what brings you in. You can tell the fact that there are elements with who's Negative Man.
Arden Lee.
Yeah, you knew the fact that there was turmoil within him upon just first meeting him. The fact that you see Aunt May actually had closure from the very first scene inside the feast center, because the fact that she actually gave away Men's clothes. If you actually walked around and talked to some of the people, his clothes were there. So she actually, at this point, has closure.
It's fully moved on, yeah.
Doc Ock actually showed progressions of his anger, his hatred, from the first moment that you actually had a chance to talk with him, and actually the first things you were doing with him and experimenting. and everything that you were doing with him. Every time you go back into that office and you saw all the work that he was doing, where he was literally building his additional arms. So if you kept going back into his office, you saw the progression. You saw the fact that it was an arm first, and then as it morphed into more of a tentacle. So the pacing of this, if you take a look at everything, even Taskmaster himself, and I'm not. Did you actually play the Taskmaster missions, bro?
Enough to get one of the suits I want.
Okay. Avery, have you beaten all the Taskmasters?
He's platinum the game.
Has anybody got like the best score for a Taskmaster thing?
They are difficult, and yeah.
He's good at games.
You got the best in all of them?
Not all of them, just a few to get the gadgets I wanted at the time.
When you actually fought Taskmaster the first time, did you actually win the fight?
I never died on a boss fight in the game, but I died like just in regular combat of waves.
So there's actually an interesting cutscene where you actually fight Taskmaster and you lose the first time.
What happens?
It says the fact that you're not ready, and the fact that I am actually supposed to be studying photographic techniques. But apparently, you're not. The people who actually reached out to me to follow you might have invested too much time and effort. I don't even know why I would continue doing this.
And it's a cutscene, not just like dialogue?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's more about it's after you die, because he did kill me, and I was like, all right, maybe I have to do this entire thing over again. I get that dialogue instead. But next time, because I did finish the Taskmaster missions, I didn't get that cutscene because the fact that I handed him a severe beating because I was not going to let that happen again.
What I find funny is like he like studies your moves so you can't like web him or do certain things, but he doesn't understand that you throw stuff at him. That's how you beat him. I just find that really funny. He's like, I know every single one of your moves before you do them, but then you just keep throwing garbage cans and you keep beating him. I thought that was funny.
Like, I fight Taskmaster. How many missions you had to do that?
You have to clear, I think, 4. You have to do a whole section of Taskmaster, so like do all lower.
Is it you just finish the sections, or you just finish all like say like the bomb ones and you finish all the?
It's like 6. You have to do 6 of them.
Okay.
If there are 12 of them in the entirety, you have to do 6 of them. And then at your website, he'll get you.
Yeah, like once you finish like what the 6th one, he'll just like come up out of nowhere. Like I remember I finished one, I was like, okay, let me just grab my phone. And I got attacked. I was like, whoa! I took the control up real fast. So yeah,
it was quite interesting. And then when I got to the last one, I'm like, oh, he's gonna come for me. I know what's gonna happen. So after that first one that you got captured up, you're anticipating it happening again. I wanted to fight Taskmaster more than just the 2 times. I wanted to fight him like 4 times. Because for a character to know all of your moves and then to do them against you, that is actually the most annoying boss to fight against.
Yeah.
Without it actually being a boss fight.
Right. Okay. Relle, final thoughts?
It's a great game. Go buy it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
What would you rate it then?
Yeah.
A 9.5 out of 10.
9.5 out of 10. Jason?
No. I stand at my 8.9.
Okay. Avery?
He gives it a 10!
No, I don't give anything 10s. I'll say 9.5 as well. And I'm like kind of thinking God of War. I'll give God of War like 8.5 to 9. Just like comparison because those are like the Sony greats of this year.
I think just watching it and not seeing all of it, I'd say probably 7 to 8. But my scale is much more lower. Like if something were to ever get a 10, it would be
God tier.
Right. It would be like 100% perfect. Nothing was wrong.
Oh.
So
is
7
there
or
a
8.
video for that God
So 7 or 8
tier
is
games?
probably more like 90% on a scale to 100.
So
I would say
I highly recommend Avery do a podcast on games that he's anticipating and put those up before the games come out
and see if it like lives up to my hype.
After one, we could do that with Kingdom Hearts.
So we've already put one up, and
so I can do an interview type one and try to rein you in.
Yeah,
I could do that with Justin and you because he's super excited about it.
Me and Justin probably have the same amount of hype. I watch more news about the game, and he just is.
I can rein you both in and try to keep it short. We can try to make those shorter episodes.
You might want to.
Rather than you guys ranting and stuff. I'll have to come up with specific questions and actually have them written down.
Funny thing is that
we could do this same style.
When we did do the Kingdom Hearts episode, it was like 3 days before they dropped a big trailer, where we would have so much more to talk about too. But Spider-Man Metacritic gave it an 87, and users are giving it 8.9.
Yeah, like I said, my scale usually is much more stringent. So a 7 or 8 is definitely like almost an A-, basically.
I guess I'm literally the voice of the populace. That my number is almost spot on.
With the review score, yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's a great game. I'm not take that away from it.
Oh yeah, no, it was. It's one of the best games I think that have come out in a long time.
I think it might have it. I think it's definitely gonna get nominated for Game of the Year. That, God of War, and probably what was the other big one that came out this year? Probably not that big. Maybe Black Ops 4 and
when is that coming out? I'm bored.
But Black Ops, like Call of Duty games, I don't like them that much, but they're always up there.
Yeah, they always do. The visuals and stuff.
Yeah, but I haven't played since Warfare 2.
But I will say definitely God of War and Spider-Man are probably going to get nominated, and I can't think of the other one that I think is also going to. No, Splatoon was 2017. I'm pretty sure. Smash might, yeah, that's a December release.
Smash could, yeah, that's possible.
Did nothing come out this year?
Not for
no, there's some good like more not indie titles. Celeste maybe was that a 2018 release? People love that one, but it's more indie title.
That might have been.
It's like a side scroll like Shovel Knight, Mega Man type game. Anyway, I think we're gonna go ahead and end this. It's been about 80 minutes, but yeah, I'm gonna sign out. Everyone, thank you for listening and to this Spider-Man review analysis. What would you call that?
Yeah, thoughts interview. Yeah,
whatever. But
buy the game.
Buy the game.
Go to Redbox, rent the game.
You could beat it. Like
get a Game Pass subscription for free.
This podcast was sponsored by Insomniac.
Even if Jason says it's dumb,
we ain't seen no
you
check.
can beat it in 24 hours.
Insomniac said it's a 15 to 20 hour game with side missions and everything. It's probably 30 to 35, and that's a good game for me.
That I think, is right around the point where I start to get tired of playing games.
But we'll end this off. Everyone's listening. Thank you for listening. Find us on all the major podcast listing sites. If you want, review us on whatever you're listening on. That could help.
Tell us what you like, what you want more of, what you don't like.
Hit that subscribe button.
Exactly. Hit subscribe if whatever you're on. I don't know what.
Add us to your playlist.
Sure. Anything.
iTunes, Spotify.
See if we can slowly build up a bigger audience. But
wait, are you guys actually on Pandora?
We're not on Pandora. Does Pandora have podcasts?
Well, I'll find out tonight.
Well, Sirius didn't Sirius just buy Pandora? Sirius XM?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I haven't used Pandora since high school.
Yeah, same. I only use Spotify and Apple Music. And
it's for old people, i.e. me. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone who's listening. I'm Avery.
I've been Jason.
I'm Ron.
I'm Ben.
And we have been Apartment Shenanigans.
Bye.
See ya.
Go!